Hello everyone, Happy New Year, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn, also called Maya, sometimes called the Baby Boomer Booktuber, and have I got a haul for you. It's unexpected, it's huge for me, and it's diverse. And it's all because of Booktube, of the subscribers, of the Booktubers that gave me some wonderful recommendations. So I'm passing it on to all of you who are watching. I'm going to start with a book that was recommended to me by Leo at A Little Book Life, a new friend. And don't get scared about the size because it is a large print book, but I didn't realize that it was a family saga. And at my age, you have to choose between your eyesight and your carpal tunnel or arthritis. And this time I think my carpal tunnel is going to win out on that one. So I might listen to this on audio or on Kindle, which I'm just about to buy a handle for my Kindle because even the Kindle is hard to handle at this point in my life. But this is the story of Edgar Sa, and it's by David Warblewski. And there's two things that make me want to read this book. One is dogs. This book is all about dogs. And the other thing that I love about it is that it's a connection between animals and people and how important that is. And this is about, from what I gather, a deaf mute boy who finds himself stranded in northern Wisconsin. I used to live in Minnesota, so I can get an idea of what that's like. And there's a tragedy, but we don't exactly know what it is right away because we go back into his grandfather and it starts with dogs and it's just delightful. So the prologue is in Busan, South Korea, 1952. I was already here. And it's not connected to the story that follows or in the beginning because, like I said, I haven't read it. But I'm going to read you the first sentence after the prologue. And it says, in the year 1919, Edgar's grandfather, who was born with an extra share of whimsy, bought their land and all the buildings on it from a man he'd never met. A man named Schultz, who in turn had walked away from a logging team half a decade earlier after seeing the chains on a fully loaded timber sled let go. Now that tells us a lot already. We know about this land that this person's grandfather bought and how he did. So it sounds a little bit like danger. I sense danger in it. What do you think about this first sentence? Did it make you want to read it? So I'm looking forward to reading this, though on another reading form. Now the next three books that I'm going to talk about were from one Booktuber's recommendation, Lindy, at Lindy's Magpie Reads. And her channel is very diverse, very unexpected, and a lot of the genres are very new to me. But I trust her, and these sounded more up my alley than some of the other books that she talks about. So let me start with, because she knows me, she knows what I like. And the first one I want to talk about, because I started it already, is TheVulnerables by Ingrid Nunez. And I never read anything by her, but she wrote The Friend, and she won the National Book Award, and she was the winner. And let me read you just why I kept on reading. So the first line of this is, "It was an uncertain spring." So that was interesting to me because people aren't supposed to talk about, writers aren't supposed to talk about the weather. And she goes into this in a hilarious form. Just let me read you a little bit more. I had read the book a long time ago, and except for this sentence, I remembered almost nothing about it. I could not have told you about the people who appeared in the book or what happened to them. I could not have told you, until later after I looked it up, that the book began in the year 1880, not that it mattered. Only when I was young did I believe that it was important to remember what happened in every novel I read. Now I know the truth. What matters is what you experience while reading, the states of feeling that the story evokes, the questions that rise to your mind, rather than the fictional events described. They should teach you that in school. And of course, this made me want to go on reading. It's metafiction in some ways. It's even meta nonfiction in some ways, because it reads a lot like a memoir, but I'll believe her. She says it's fiction, so but it does read like a memoir, at least so far. And I wanted to tell you something about what I read, because I went to college later in life. I was 38, and I had a teacher who didn't, he was kind of a hippie, and he didn't give tests. All we had to do was read a book and ask 5 questions, or maybe 10 questions, about what we read. That was so unusual to me. What struck us? What questions came to mind? And yeah, so right on, I'm going to enjoy this book, I know. The next book recommendation that she gave me was Dinosaurs, a novel by Lydia Millet. And this is a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award. And so this author is new to me as well. And I wouldn't have found her if it wasn't for your recommendations, or in this case, Lindy's recommendations. And it's a story of a man named Gil who walks from New York to Arizona to recover from a failed love. That alone really got me. So I said, let me read the first line and see what I think of it. And the title is Morning. When he decided to leave New York, he chose Arizona because of some drone footage he'd seen. I love that. I saw a movie about Hawaii when I was 12, and it was South Pacific. And I said to my friends, we all watched it together, one day I'm going to move wherever that movie took place. And I waited until all the credits, and it said filmed in Kauai, Hawaii. And I made it by my 26th birthday. And I didn't get to Kauai until much later, but I did live in Kauai for about 5 years. So I love someone who takes chances like that, because that's me. I always took chances. So I'm very looking forward to this book, and Lindy said I would like it. The next book is a little out of my comfort zone, because I just started reading graphic novels or graphic memoirs. And this is The Talk by Darrin Bell. And he's the winner of a Pulitzer Prize for his editorial graphic comics, I think. And so what is it about? Now, when I opened this book, I said, look at this black and white this is up my alley. I really love this kind of graphic novel. It's big, first of all, it has big lettering, which is important for obvious reasons. And so what is it about? Darrin Bell was 6 years old when his mother told him he couldn't have a realistic water gun. She feared for his safety, that police tend to think that of little black boys as older and less innocent than they really are. Through evocative illustrations and sharp humor, Bell examines how the talk shaped intimate and public moments from childhood to adulthood. coming of age in Los Angeles, and finding a voice through cartooning, he becomes painfully aware of being regarded as dangerous by white teachers, neighbors, and police officers, and thus of his mortality. So this is, first of all, this is beautiful cartooning, beautiful illustration, beautiful drawing, and a very important message. And I was brought up in a mostly black neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York, and it was a little bit different in the 50s, in that I was the only white presenting person in my class, but I got along with everyone. Everyone got along with me, and yeah, I had good experience. But I didn't realize what my black classmates and my friends went through in their daily life. I only knew them as friends because I was a child, and I didn't think of safety on their part. So I want to, this is also a hefty book, but I'm definitely going to read this. So thank you, Lindy, for all those recommendations. Now let's go on. I've never read Maggie Smith, but you can make this world a beautiful place. I'm going to start with her memoir. And what I liked about it is the way it's written. She's a poet, and I like the way I like all the margins and the way all the white space, and how every, well, I don't know because I haven't read it, but most of the, it seems like a series of memories, and I like that. But basically, it's about lyrical vignettes, because she's a poet, and about the end of her marriage and the beginning of a surprising new story. A story that starts with Smith's personal particular heartbreak, quickly grows into a reckoning with contemporary womanhood, family work, and patriarchy. With the spirit of reflection and empathy she's known for, and a razor-sharp wit, Smith interweaves snapshots of a life with meditations on secrets, anger, forgiveness, and narrative itself. So another kind of metafiction, well, this nonfiction. And she's an Irish writer, I know that much. So if you've read Maggie Smith, or you've read this book, please let me know in the comments if I should start it sooner rather than later. Another book that seems similar in some ways is a novel, Holding Pattern by Jenny Z. And this is also it's a novel, and Kathleen Chang has blown up her life. She's gone through a humiliating breakup, dropped out of her graduate program, and left everything behind. Now she's back in her childhood home in Oakland, wondering what's next. This is a very familiar theme in fiction, going back to your hometown after maybe your life doesn't work that way, is not working that well. I never went back. I left and I never came back, but I had my reasons. Let me read the first line and see if this attracts you. Heartbreak was its own kind of incandescence that morning, scrubbing the world raw with its floodlight. So that's a nice sentence. What do you think? So it says that, praise for Holding Pattern. Jenny Z brings her expansive spirit to a healing narrative that wraps, weaves, and folds into you. There is much heart in these pages, so much wisdom on how we love. So, yeah, that's sort of interesting to me, but I think I want to get to more of the other books first. And this book, I don't know who gave me this recommendation on BookTube. I watch a lot of BookTube, and I write down recommendations. And this is a Canadian novel I found out by just looking at it. It's called A Jest of God, a novel by Margaret Laurence. And this is not a new release by any means. It's April 1970. And I'll read you a little bit of what it says. And immediately, did I tell you her name? Margaret Laurence, okay, author of The Stone Angel, in case you've read that. An immediately recognizable woman, Rachel Cameron, has let 14 years slip by since her father's death forced her to leave college and return home to teach grade school. Trapped by a tyrannically demanding mother, can relate, Rachel must suffer daily assaults on her self-respect from the early classes of youngsters who give her no more than enforced attention, forgetting her as they move on while she longs for a child of her own. Boy, this sounds like a little bit like my life. Okay, although the setting is in a town in Canada, it could be any town where the suffocating social mores threaten the tenuous hold that an uncertain woman may have on reality. So, yeah, this is coming on the top of my list. So, have you read this? Let me know. I think I'm going to read this very, very soon. I'm so excited about the next book. I cannot tell you how excited I am. And it's been on BookTube. It's beloved. It's Your Driver is Waiting by Priya Guns. Many people have recommended this book to me. And what it says, it's a ferocious new voice, a fierce and immersive debut, a story that made me rock back and forth with awe. That's big words. I just want to read you the first sentence because it really got me. If you're going to be a driver, you'd better hide at least one weapon in your car. Now that's a 5-star beginning if I've ever heard one. So Damani is tired. Her father just died on the job at a fast food joint, and now she lives paycheck to paycheck in a basement, caring for her mom and driving for an app that is constantly cutting her take. The city is roiling in protest, everyone in solidarity with somebody. But when she keeps hearing that they're fighting for change on behalf of people like her, she literally can't pay attention. I don't want to go more into it because I don't want to know more than this. It sounds like she's sort of an Uber driver. And someone told me it's a take on Taxi Driver, which I heard of, Robert De Niro, never saw, never watched. But yeah, I'm definitely going to read this. Have you read Your Driver? And the cover, I love the cover, the way she's looking in the rear view mirror. Just love this. She's had enough. You know she's had enough. Okay, now to really turn the way this haul is going, I have a tiny book, but a very important book. It's by Annie Ernaux, and this one is called The Young Man. It's translated by Allison L. Strayer, and the Nobel Prize 2022. So I didn't know it was written that, recently, but I heard about this author on Sarah's channel, Hardcover Hearts. If you haven't watched her channel, you will learn a lot and enjoy, like I did. And this is how I'm starting this novel. So it says it's 2022, English translation 2023. Okay, so it was originally published in French. Le Jeune Homme. I hope I said that right. So, I think there's a real photo of her here. Let me read the first sentence. 5 years ago, I spent an awkward night with a student who had been writing to me for a year and wanted to meet me. Sounds great. I think this is about an older woman and a younger man. So, yeah, right up my alley. My partner of 15 years is 20 years younger than me. So, let's see what happens with her relationship. So, it says the young man is Annie Ernaux's account of her passionate love affair with a man some 30 years younger. Wow, 30 years. I thought 20 years was a lot, but 30. Yeah. Now I'm going to go into a completely different genre, and that is mystery. And I heard of this author because of a book she wrote, and this is translated from the German by Amy Bojang. It's by Leonie Swann, and it's The Sweet Years of Agnes Sharp, a murder mystery. Well, if anybody knows my channel, they know I love murder mysteries, and I go to them whenever I'm stressed, whenever I just want to escape into another dimension. So what is it about? It says it's a delirious, clever plot with warmly drawn characters, dollops of tension, and dark secrets. Brilliant. So who said this? Helene Thurston, best-selling author of An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good, which I heard about years ago on BookTube by many people who liked it. So, but this has a different kind of vibe to it. So, so this is also translated from the German. I did not know that. By Amy Bojang. And it has been an eventful morning for Agnes Sharp and the other inhabitants of Sunset Hall, a house share for the old and unruly in the sleepy English countryside. Already I want to read it. It sounds like up my alley. Let me just see what the first sentence is. And the first sentence is the prologue. And it's very interesting because it's not written in a human voice. Hetty felt hot. She had spent too much time on her sunstone, and the afternoon heat had got into her shell and was incessantly buzzing around in her head. Like any responsible, cold-blooded creature, I had to read more. She had to do something about restoring the balance, and the right place for that was traditionally the shady ravine of an old plant pots behind the sky-high wooden structure where ferns grew unchecked from cracks and snails felt their way across the damp earth. And we have a little illustration of a turtle. So that's the prologue, and I'm wondering, okay, the first line is wonderful too. The doorbell rang, and Agnes Sharp abandoned the search for her false teeth, simultaneously pleased and annoyed. Yeah, I'm definitely going to read this. And since it's a library book, I better get on it fast. I sort of like the cover, but in a way I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because, yeah, I use a cane, and let's see if you can see. We have a woman in a wheelchair and a man using a cane. A woman using a cane and a man in a wheelchair. And that's fine, but not every elderly person thinking this is a care home uses a cane or a wheelchair. And I think that's just, I'd like to see one more person who's older but maybe a little more active, but that's okay. At least we're being represented, not only older but disabled. So yeah, I'm going to read this. Now I'm going into an author that I haven't read anything by, but I've heard so much about. He wrote Razorblade Tears. His name is S.A. Cosby, and this is his new book, My Darkest Prayer. And it's the first line, I handle the bodies. So I already know this because I looked at it. And this is, whether it's working at his cousin's funeral home or tossing around the local riffraff at his favorite bar, Nathan Waymaker is a man who knows how to handle the bodies. That's really all I need to know about The Darkest Prayer. So he wrote Razorblade Tears and Blacktop Wasteland. So have you read S.A. Cosby? Have you read Razorblade Tears? Let me know in the comments if I should read it. Well, I am going to read it. I don't know if I can read it until I might have to renew it. These are all library books, by the way, and I'm very lucky to have such a wonderful library in Hawaii. The only thing that I really can't get is a lot of translated some translated older books. But even those I'm able to get some of. So that's great. The last book that I'm going to talk to you about is a book that I found on a few of the booktubers who have videos about dark mysteries, horror, which I'm not really into. I'm not into at all, really. But also really going to serial killer stuff. So, and believe it or not, that's a lot of people who are really into true crime or fiction dealing with serial killers. And I know a lot of people aren't into that, so that's okay. And I used to be more into that. I'm really not into that anymore, but I thought I would end with Chasing the Boogeyman, a novel by Richard Chizmar, New York Times bestselling author. Genuinely chilling and something new and exciting, compulsive reading and scary, says Stephen King. If Stephen King says it's scary, I can't even read Stephen King. I was listening to Mara, one of her older videos, Books Like Whoa, very big booktuber on Booktube, and she was saying that she was reading, this was like 2 years ago, I think, she was reading the novel by Stephen King, It, and she had it was too scary for her. You know, she knew what was going to happen, but that made me like, I'm never picking up that book. So Chasing the Boogeyman, there was the bad, the unimaginably, indescribably bad, hovering above all those wonderful memories like an angry slate gray thunderstorm sky. In the summer of '88, the mutilated bodies of several missing girls began to turn up in a small Maryland town. The grisly evidence leads police to the terrifying assumption that a serial killer is on the loose in the quiet suburb. Now, from what I heard about this, that it's based on Ted Bundy, but I could be wrong, or another serial killer. And it says that it's an absolutely chilling mashup of styles, media, biography, and legend. So I'm going to take a look at this and see if I can handle it or not. And he also wrote another book, a follow-up of, this is his first book, but then I think he wrote a book, Uncovering the Boogeyman, or something like that. I'll have that down in the description, the correct title for that. Anyway, that is my haul for the new year. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel, and thank you to the 5 new subscribers that have newly subscribed. And farewell to the 10 who left. Please come back, because I think that 2024 is going to be my 4th year on as a booktuber, and I plan to show other sides of me. That doesn't sound very good, but I plan to have a little fun on BookTube, and maybe bring back some of my older videos in shorts, and see how I've come along on BookTube on my 4th year. 74th year in life and 4th year on BookTube. Hey, that's pretty good, as we say. Shaka. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until my next video, I wish you all a happy new year, happy reading, and of course, aloha.